All right. Have you ever seen your astrology chart before?
Not other than like just looking it up, and it makes no sense to me. So
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, from previous conversations, we're like pretty new to it. So
yeah.
for this session, it'll be a little bit shorter than about 30 to 45 minutes. We'll see, um, usually ends up going to about 45 minutes just because there's so much to talk about.
Mhm.
But try to keep it short. And we can just have it be an open conversation. So you can make comments as they come up or ask any questions
Okay,
and just kind of keep it open like that.
sounds good.
If anyone else does come in, we'll see, but they can always, because it's kind of a way for people to see what birth chart readings are like and for them to ask any questions as well and learn as they go. So we'll see if anyone else wants to join in, but yeah. And yeah, just for anyone else listening to this recording, I do like full length, 1 to 1.5 hour complete birth chart readings where we dive right in, ask any questions. So it's a lot more personal and in depth. That conversation gets recorded, so you can listen to it again and again, and you can receive so much deep information about yourself and your life and your life purpose and your spiritual journey, your childhood, your future. Like there's so much that gets covered. You can ask about any kinds of relationships, or it really can go so deep, as you'll see just in this little kind of snapshot with Nicole. The whole variety of what gets covered in astrology, there's so much. So if you are interested in going really deep, you can check out my website, astrologyroots.com, or on Instagram, I'm astrology.roots, and I've been posting like astrology updates and things like that.
Cool.
But these are exclusive for the Spiritual Social Network, so the Prism Lighthouse Spiritual Social Network, and you can join us through, is it Prism Lighthouse on Instagram?
The Prison Lighthouse.
The Prism Lighthouse on Instagram. That's one way to join, or you can send a message to me on Instagram and I can add you in. And it's a lot of fun. Of course, Nicole's a lighthouse leader as well, talking about sustainability, which has been, I've actually learned a lot from your posts. It's really got me thinking
So I'm
about
glad
the
to hear
way that
that.
I shop. Yeah, because I'm a thrift shopper. I buy pretty much everything secondhand. But it really got me thinking about the way that I'm actually even going about doing that and the mindset that I have about accumulating things and getting rid of things and just the culture that we've sort of
Yeah.
been, in. And
Yeah.
even though like I thought I was like being really like eco-friendly and sustainable by thrift shopping, there's still that mindset of like overconsumption, and just like getting rid of things and not kind of yeah, like being more conscious
What you have.
about our usage of things, and what we have. Yeah. So I just wanted to thank you for that because your posts are really
Yes.
great. Thank
Very glad.
you. Right, sure. So I'll share my screen with you now so you can see your chart. I use astro.com. I really like it. If anyone's interested, astro.com. It's free. It's really comprehensive.
Cool.
All right. So this is what you look like in your astrology chart. So basically you're there, you're that X. So that's like the exact time, the exact you were born. And this is where the planets were in the sky at the time you were born. So, the sun was over here in Sagittarius, as well as your Venus and Mercury. Mars was just at the very end of Virgo, etc. Like if you actually looked up in the sky, that's the constellations that they were in for everyone. And then the chart becomes a little bit more personal when you add the layer of the system as well. So there's a second wheel that they base on where the sun was rising at the time you were born. So you were born, was it in the middle of the night or yeah, 2:30 a.m. So the sun was rising in the sign of Libra at the time that you were born. So elsewhere in the world, right? The sun was on the horizon in Libra. That makes Libra your rising sign. And then the house system is sort of based on that and sort of gets calculated based on where, where the sun was at noon at the time you were born, makes your 10th house, which is in Cancer. So, and where the sun was at midnight was in Capricorn, makes your 4th house, and your descendant, your 7th house. The sun was setting in the sign of Aries at the time you were born. So this kind of, and then they, depending on the house system you use, I won't get into that because it's complicated, but but then they sort of figure out like where the second and third and fifth and sixth houses are placed as well. So there's some debate around that, but really it doesn't make that much of a difference once you have the first, seventh, fourth, and 10th house all placed. And it really adds a personal touch to astrology. You can still do someone's astrology chart without knowing their time, just by looking at where the planets were at the time that person was born. But the house system shows you not only, so say for example, the is like a type of energy, and then the sign is like how or the color that that energy is expressed through, like how that energy is expressed. And then the house system is like where, like what the stage, what area of life that is like focus. So
Cool.
so yeah, it adds like a real layer to it. So yeah, let's get into it. We'll just start with your top three, your rising sign. I usually start with the rising sign because it's where everything begins in the chart. It's your first house. The rising sign represents, or the ascendant, represents your childhood, the way you were raised to be in the world, and so who you are stepping into becoming in this lifetime. It's your learning journey. It's the school that you're in. So you having a Libra rising, you are not only do other people see you originally, because we kind of project out this rising sign. So they see you as being friendly, polite, courteous, harmonious, sort of seeking to create harmony and balance in your relationships, and they're very friendly, beautiful. Sometimes you can be perceived as being flirtatious, even when you're not, because it's kind of that, that the Libras, they're ruled by Venus, so very like, yeah, they can just be flirtatious. They don't even need to be. It's just how they are. They're very lovely, romantic, but yeah, kind. Because it's your rising sign, you're also learning this sign. So learning in your lifetime, like a big theme would be learning how to be in harmonious relationships
Mm-hmm.
and learning how to balance and not be a people pleaser. Like at times you might put other people first and you're sort of wanting to like you see the needs that other people need and you want to meet those needs and not really like looking out for yourself first, because the opposite of Libra is Aries, which is all about like stepping out. I mean, what do I want? So that's kind of the energy, sort of balance it out. But as a rising sign, it's how it's nice that it's how other people see you. People are probably really drawn to your just like outwardly, kind, peaceful. You have a natural kind of leadership ability with that too. Libras are cardinal signs, so they're like, um, thought leaders. And okay, we'll get into your Aquarius as well. So I noticed that with your moon and your south node as well in Aquarius, Also kind of a real leader starter kind of energy in your chart as well. Yeah, we can just go there next because your top three includes your moon sign and your sun sign and your ascendant. So your moon is in Aquarius, conjunct with your south node, and the north and south node of the moon are two kind of mathematical points. They're not actually planetary bodies, but the moon's nodes are always facing in two opposite directions, and they stay there for about 2.5 years before moving on. So when you were born, the north node was in, and anyone in your 2.5 year age group as well would have had a north node in Leo and a south node in Aquarius. So your north node is like your soul's evolution in this lifetime, how you're evolving in this lifetime through Leo. So it could be through self-expression and creativity, through having a family. That's kind of a Leo thing as well. Kind of like taking opportunities to put yourself in the spotlight and the center of attention, and like through creative self-expression. It could be through a business. It could be, like I said, having a family. That's also a Leo thing as well, or working with children. These are different ways that your north node could be affected in this lifetime, and that could affect you and your decision, your life path to evolve, soul's evolution. And your south node represents more your past lives, and or energy that you already have kind of mastered, like kind of gifts that you're coming into this life with, like even from childhood. It's like, how are you already so good at this, get this from, kind of thing. um and because your moon is there as well, moon also represents past lives and like your soul tribe as well. So it's interesting that they're right conjunct with each other. When I see the south node and the moon together like that, it's like, oh, this is probably definitely a past life, like literally, in Aquarius. So, um, Aquarius is very humanitarian, very like kind of a inventor type energy, innovator. They Aquarians stand out from the crowd. They, they don't fit in. They try, but they just don't different. And eventually they learn that they just have to strike out on their own. They have to do their own thing. They have to become who they are, which is different, but it's their genius, like they're the Einsteins of the world, or the inventors that bring in these new ideas and information that change society. They're also, so, with your moon there too, your moon kind of represents your, where your rising sign is like what you're learning. Your moon is also what you already have a mastery in, like what you're really good at energetically. You might find that Aquarians or people with Aquarius rising signs are drawn to you. You might have like people who are drawn to you who are learning from you. If you start learning about, your friends' astrology charts, and they might really actually be energetically learning from you. And I find this true for me. It's interesting to start to look into this. Also, the moon is your soul tribe as well. So if you have other people with moons in Aquarius, then you'll be kind of a bit of a soul tribe. You might be drawn to those people as well. So other humanitarian type thinkers, like Aquarians, are very like, they think about the whole rather than just individual. Um, so the thing with the moon in Aquarius, yeah, you have this ability to sort of like really bring in new ideas, thinking about what the group needs and bringing that in. The one kind of downside, I would say, with like a moon in Aquarius is it can be a little bit superficial. Like they're not the most overly nurturing or caring necessarily. You do have some other water aspects, so it's not like you're completely not like that, but it's just something to be aware of with the moon in Aquarius. Like sometimes like you're thinking about the group or you're thinking about the world, and sometimes you can be a little bit like um yeah, not super like one-on-one. What do you need? Do you need a shoulder to cry on? Like, what do you want to talk about? You know, that kind of thing. It's a little bit more like and air can be like that as well. And fire, you have a lot of air and fire as well, which is more masculine, where earth and water is feminine. Um, so yeah, very like, did you have a question?
No, I'm just, this is also interesting.
Oh, oh, okay. I just saw your face. I was like, okay. Yeah, so air and fire, it's like very ideas and mental and actions, taking action, right? It's a little bit like the movement of energy, like it's like upwards, like rather than going down in. It's kind of a strange way of thinking about it, but it's how my mind thinks about energy.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah. So and when you look down here, there's this convenient little key. So you can see all the fire you have. You you know, you do have your midheaven in water. You have some planets in water. Jupiter, that's a big one. Other ones are all asteroids, like they're not as significant in your chart as, say, your Sun, Mercury, Venus, North Node, Saturn. Like you have a lot of fire, and you also have a lot of air with your moon there, your ascendant as well. So, and you do have a bit of earth, and so you are like pretty balanced, but more significantly fire and air. So, yeah, you know, it's a bit of a gift, right? Like having this ability to create new ideas, or you know, think of new ideas, create change, etc. And when I was looking at your chart, I mean, of course, I'm looking through the filter of knowing what I know of you, but still, I was like, oh, how cool that you have these gifts of, you know, your moon and your south node in Aquarius, being a bit of a change maker, you know, and a humanitarian, like thinking about like what the world needs and sustainability. I just thought that was like so perfect.
Mhm.
Such an Aquarius thing, right? I'm just looking to see if you have what kind of trines you have going on. Uranus and Ceres. Yeah, you definitely have an air trine going on with your ascendant in Libra and your Ceres in Gemini. And then you have your Uranus here in Aquarius as well. So that creates a nice trine that is not pictured here, just because I don't have that in my settings. But you can see it down here below in the key. And trines in the chart, especially with your ascendant, that's a very significant placement. The trines, like a grand trine like that, creates a very special gift. So it's like you have the gift of air, which is very, air is all about ideas, communication. Like I said, it's very masculine. It's the most mutable quality, you know, like fire's the next level, but it's a little bit more grounded. Like it comes from earth, right? The air is like the most like, so when it comes to technology, like I said, communication, communicating ideas, exchanging ideas, this kind of thing. It's like a gift of yours. You have the gift of air in your chart. Um,
Hmm.
And then, okay, let's jump into your sun sign. Of course, this is very significant where the sun was at the time you were born. Dictates your physical appearance oftentimes as well. Like we often do kind of resemble our sun signs. Not always, of course, not always to a T, but yeah, and how you, it really is how you express yourself, how you do things. It is the core of your outward personality. So being Sagittarius, so a lot of fire. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, so they are often very lucky. Jupiter is the planet of good luck and abundance, very expansive. Um, they tend to become teachers and eternal students as well. They're always learning and teaching and wanting to like just expand and share. They often tend to be travelers and learning other cultures or having relationships with other people, being drawn to like friendships and romantic relationships where that person's from another culture or they're learning another language or they're just learning from their partner. They stay interested. The thing with Sagittarius is they, and this is not a bad thing, but when they are done with something, when they're done with learning something, they move on because they're always learning and expanding and growing. So it just doesn't make sense to stick around forever. They're not like, the fixed, like a Cancer or a Taurus or a Scorpio. There's certain signs that want to just stay have something forever and just so you're comfortable with that. No, and so it really is kind of a cliche with Sagittarians, like they're like the one sign that could be, say, polyamorous or something like that. Like out of any of the signs, they are like the most likely to sort of just jump around from thing to thing to thing. But like I said, it's because they're like eternal students. They're soaking up knowledge, they're learning, they're expanding. One day, if not already, they'll be teaching and sharing. And it's important that that Sagittarians live that way, They're always trying new things. You do have Venus and Mercury there as well, and Pluto. So Pluto is also really like more unconscious planet, but it's also kind of represents kind of your like past lives as well, like your karma. So Pluto's also like, yeah, so on a really deep level, like spiritually, you're also evolving through this Sagittarian quality as well. Through expansion, learning, teaching, being the eternal student. It's also it's how your soul is it's how you're expressing yourself outwardly with your sun sign, but it goes so much deeper than that in this lifetime. Like you're really here to be a Sagittarian, like and like shoot for the stars, it's the archer like pointing and shooting, right? It's like really like expanding yourself in this lifetime. And then also too with your North Node in Leo as well. Like I said in the beginning, that's all about like creative self-expression, being on the center stage, putting your gifts out there for everyone to see and stepping into them, like shining brightly, So that combination of the Sagittarian and the Leo as well. You do have your Sagittarius too, so it's almost like you have a fire trine too. Let's see here. You have Saturn trining with your North Node. And yeah, I'm not sure if it's trying. Yeah, it just doesn't show it just because of my settings, but it shows it down in the key. But
Mhm.
it's almost like you have a fire trine too. I'm not sure if it's exact, but you have like all these planets down here in fire, and then these two are trining. So I don't think it's exact, but it is pretty cool. You have like so much air and so much fire. Um, really the ability to like make change, start businesses, get things done. It is a masculine energy, so just being aware of that and balancing it out, like just being aware that like those two qualities have a lot of great potential to succeed, to be creative, right, to get things done, but also to not care about other people's emotions, to not be very nurturing, to not be very grounded, taking care of your physical body, resting, relaxing, so this might be a bit of a theme for you to kind of like make sure you're doing those things as well. So I kind of went over the top three, but then also, and we just touched on Venus and Mercury being in Sagittarius as well. So these are also your personal planets too. You have your sun, that's like your main core energy. Your moon, that's more like your inner world, your inner experience, your past lives, the energy that you have mastered. We have your Mercury, which is your mind and your like one communication, your intellect, your thoughts, that kind of thing. Your Venus, which is your intimate relationships. It can also be your physical body, your resources, your money, the things that you have. And then we also have Mars, which is your physical energy, your drive, your ambition. So these are the 5 personal planets. And then when we touch on like Jupiter and we start going outward, then it becomes more about your outer life and your society, your society, your outer life.
Mhm.
These are your 5 personal planets that make up your like core personality. So yeah, so you're like a triple Sagittarian too. So with Venus there as well, everything I was saying before about like not being super committed in relationships, like that can also play a role because Venus represents your intimate relationships and things that you like. So with Sagittarius there, it's like liking things to be like different and exciting and for things that like teach you things that add to your knowledge. So it's like always needing things to be exciting and different and really kind of juicy and so yeah, just being aware of that, right? And then you also have like all of these planets here in Sagittarius are squaring with Jupiter, which is your ruling planet. And your Jupiter is because you're a Sagittarian and Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So that would make Jupiter also have a extra significance in your chart. So with Jupiter also being in the 6th house of work and service, I imagine that you might struggle balancing, say, your relationships and your work, or wanting to really like succeed in your work and like being really committed to like the way that you show up and serve. But then balancing that with like that Sagittarian, I just want to be free. I just want to travel. I just want to, whatever it is, like learn about philosophy and spirituality or, whatever it could be for that Sagittarian. Or, ooh, this person is so exciting and exotic and I just want to like chase them, but then maybe your work gets like put on hold or something like that. You have so many planets in Sagittarius, including the so but however, like Jupiter it's the biggest planet in our solar system, so it has so much gravity. So usually when there's a square going on, like some tension between two planets, the bigger one usually kind of wins the fight a little bit. So, I imagine like you're really, really focused on your career, your service, like how you are being relevant and helpful to humanity. Like that's what the sixth house is all about. Um, it's yeah, you're like in your shock right now,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So there's this kind of dynamic. The thing is, once you learn to balance these two, being Sagittarian, and also like all these planets are in your third house of siblings, peers, your intellect, your mind, your communication, your local community as well. So being kind of, it's actually kind of opposite, which is interesting. Like Sagittarius is all about traveling the world, learning other cultures. The third house is all about like your peer groups and what's close to home. So it's almost like you learn through your like intimate friendships and your close relationships and your peer groups and your home, perhaps bringing what you learn through books or travel and bringing it back to your community, what you can provide for them. So there's this kind of dynamic. Like this is like what you're really kind of focused on in a lot of ways in your relationships, etc. And yeah, so and then like I said, your career is over here. Your Jupiter's all about your career, your life purpose, your life expansion in the house of work and service. So once you like kind of balance out these two uh, opposing forces, they're not really opposing, but there's some tension there. So once you balance out this square energy, it really just makes them both become more powerful because you'll have had to work through a little bit of a challenge or tension, and then once you kind of like figure out how to balance those things in your life, it's just like anything in life, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? It's like whatever you have to struggle against and learn, then you become better at that thing. So this is really just setting you up to have like a really rock solid connection to your work and service and how you really want to be of service, and having to really balance out your um, freedom loving adventure, like hanging out with your friends. I've touched on that quite a bit, but yeah. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah. That very yes. I like I really like to travel. But I always have a very strong sense of home. So that just that part alone just makes that really clicks that it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, but all of it, that all sounds, yeah, accurate for me.
Cool. I forgot to ask you earlier. Hey, how's this going for you so far? I just kind of like get right into it, and
Oh,
there's a lot.
yeah,
Any questions so far? Like anything you're like wanting to know about?
not really,
Okay, let's see. And then we have your Mars so that's like your last like personal planet, right? Mars represents it's the masculine energy, right? So it's like how your drive and how you achieve results and your ambition, your accomplishments. Also, it can represent your like male friends or like male energy that you're drawn to. So at the very last degree of Virgo, um, so so you can be a little bit hard on yourself, I think, with Mars at 29 degree of Virgo. Virgos are the most like perfectionistic sign of the zodiac, but they're uh, they're all about integrity, right? It's like you can't really, for example, Virgo is the ruler of the sixth house, and the sixth house, like I was saying, it's all about work and service, right? So Virgos are all about like, how can I take my gifts um, and apply them to be relevant to this situation or to humanity or to this group. Um, so they're all about service, but they are also the most like they can be the most like stressed out sign of the zodiac. Um, so Mars being your physical energy, you know, at the 29th degree of Virgo, you might suffer from, and let me know if this resonates for you, but from like burnout or physical exhaustion. Like, does that happen to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because also the 29th degree, whenever anything's at the 29th degree, it's like this energy of being like, mm, you know, this lesson, like you're so over and done with it. It's the very last degree before it changes signs. So it's like, oh man, like I know this. I've already dealt with this for like lifetimes, perhaps, you know? Um, and yet here you are like kind of having to go through it again. That's kind of like the energy. So yeah, so that's pretty, it is well aspected. All these blue lines are either trines or sextiles. So they're very more harmonious, positive aspects rather than the red lines that are more like challenges that you have to work through. They're creating more tension between the two planets. These ones are more like working together really well. So that's good. So it's like still your physical energy, though you might suffer from, you know, stressing yourself out a bit, being maybe a little bit too like anal about things and going into exhaustion sometimes. You know, it's like it's very well aspected. So time you know, this energy of Mars in Virgo, being very detail oriented, like being like really committed to being of service to others, like offering their gifts to others and being helpful and relevant, like for real, and really like making sure you're um, you know, dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's, and to the point where you can stress yourself out sometimes. So like watch out for that, right? There is this dotted green line here to Saturn. So that is actually a challenging aspect there from Mars to Saturn. And Saturn is also the sign of our challenges as well. So you know, it's mostly good, it's mostly well aspected, but it yeah, like there is a bit of a challenge there too. And you know, you said yeah, you do kind of struggle with that a bit. So definitely I would like watch out for that a little bit. It's very close to, it's like 4 degrees away from your ascendant. So it's almost conjunct with your ascendant. You have like it's pretty much conjunct, like Mars is super close to your ascendant. So other people might also be really drawn to your Mars, your masculine energy, I guess, like your drive, your energy, your like, you know, desire to achieve and create what you're out to create. People really see that in you and are often drawn to that initially. Like projecting out a little bit too. Like I already said masculine energy, but I almost want to say like one of the guys because Mars being, it is kind of like it shows us like our like guy friend kind of energy. Not always like romantic male energy that we're attracted to. It's also like represents our brothers and our friends. So that's why I'm like, oh, like kind of like one of the guys or something. It's like the vibe I get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Man, that's a lot of information, but it's very cool to,
So much.
yeah. But like with the like burnout and stuff like that, that's stuff we've been working on because it's been all my life. Anal is a good word for me. um,
Which stuff? Sorry.
just like
Have you been working?
uh, being very particular about how things are, and I like being very organized, and this is how it should be, and that has always always been me. I've noticed that I've relaxed on it a little bit because I get tired and I don't need to be this. um yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it. I know it's in there.
Nice. That makes so much sense for sure. Because like, yeah, the 29th degree is a very critical degree. It's like makes us feel something like even more. So mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah, I think I might as well stop there. Like that's pretty much like all your like um yeah, kind of like your top five, your kind of like um big things.
Mhm.
And that's like a little bit of like if anyone's watching this recording, like just a glimpse of like what you can see and cover in astrology. And I mean, like that's just like your kind of outer layer of it. There's all these like asteroids that we don't really get into right now. That's like more your like subconscious processes and like things that are having a big influence on your life in different ways as well. And um there's there's so much to cover. So I do usually talk slower, take my time, ask questions throughout, and I usually try to cover all of the planetary bodies throughout a session and really make sure I'm answering your questions like really, like in a very detailed way. And then, like I said, it's like recorded and everything. So yeah, just like, just to let you know. But this is a lot of fun. Thank you for offering to do this,
Oh,
to
thank you.
volunteer to like show your chart to everyone and to because it's like personal, it's deep, it's kind of vulnerable. Like there's so much that we're covering.
Mhm.
And and for your permission to like share it and everything, because
Oh,
yeah. And if anyone is like, it wants to just do this, just to get like a quick snapshot of their astrology and learn a bit more about themselves and astrology, then, let me know. And before I could do this forever, this is just like, uh, what's it called? Just a temporary thing, I guess. So, uh, if you're interested, just let me know now and we can do a little session for you live, public, with your permission. Yeah.
very cool. I will
Yeah.
definitely be rewatching this because it was a ton of information. It was great.
Exactly.
Need a minute to process.
Yeah. It's like this really quick, like, bam, here you go.
Yeah,
Because even though it's like, I'm like, okay, it's just going to be like 35, 40 minutes, like, small session. I just can't help it. I try to say everything because
oh,
it's just so
great.
fascinating.
Yeah, it totally is. It's so cool, and like to learn about your like myself in a different light. That it's like, oh, this all makes sense, and it's for a reason. It's from somewhere else. Like it's yeah, very cool. So thank you.
Yeah, like, yeah, you're so welcome. It was so much fun. Yeah. I find like so often people are just like, yeah, that's exactly where I am right now. And it's so interesting, like, how exact it really is. And we're just sort of like living our astrology charts. So I think we always have the ability to like shift our perspective and to be, like we have free will, obviously. We have choice of like how we respond to what we're dealt with. But in a way, it's like I think it creates so much acceptance for people to realize like, oh, like this is all in my chart. Like this is like, it's there's nothing wrong with me. I didn't mess up. I didn't like do it wrong. It's like, no, this is like actually like literally how the planets aligned in my chart. But the thing is we always have choice of like how we're going to respond and how we're going to deal with it and what we make of what we're given too. So
True.
yeah, yeah.
So cool. Awesome.
Thank you again. That was
Thank
much
you.
fun.
It's good.
Have a wonderful evening. And let me
Yes,
know if you have any questions at all too.
will. I definitely will.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye.
You too.